Good morning, everyone. My name is Eliza, and today we are starting a 2-week journey into security. Is that okay? So for today, our title for our program for the journey is why security matters for NGOs. They are basically small-sized businesses. Is that okay? And we are not just going to talk about any kind of security, not the kind of security that has to do with like guards and gates, but this is the kind that protects your data, your devices, the people that you work with as an NGO, your beneficiaries, your donors, your mission, and also your vision as an NGO. And in the next few weeks, you will hear a lot from me about passwords, phishing and firewalls, basically things that we can do to protect our data, our beneficiaries, our donors, our assistants, and whichever tool we use to make sure that our mission and vision as an NGO is accomplished. Is that okay? But before we dive into the technical details, I want us to understand why this matters to us as an organization, first and foremost, and also as an NGO. Is that okay? So, and then also by the end of today, you will know three things. As in, you will understand why these three things matter. The first one is why NGOs are specifically targeted. The second one is what real breaches or security incidents have looked like for NGOs. And the third one would be how security isn't about being paranoid. Okay, it's about protecting the people we serve. As an NGO, we are here to serve people, and in serving, we also have to ensure that their protection is a priority. Okay, so let's start with this question. I want to throw this question out there. Why would a hacker target an NGO, or why would a bad person target an NGO digitally or within the cyberspace? I mean, we are not a bank. We don't have billions in our vaults like a bank. I mean, if they are attacking a bank, we can understand that they're attacking a bank for the money or for like the customers' data and all that. But why would they attack an NGO? Because what does an NGO have that's worth stealing? So I want us to have this question at the back of our mind as we continue. Okay, so why NGOs are targets is that okay. So for this slide, it's called the NGO security paradox. So NGOs, here's the uncomfortable truth, okay. NGOs are some of the easiest targets in the digital world because it is known that or it is perceived that we don't really take our security practices very serious. We tend to assume that oh we don't have anything worth stealing, so why would an attacker attack us? So that's why we are the easiest targets when it comes to being attacked in the digital world. And it's not because we are careless, okay, it's a structural. So let me explain why I say it's a structural. So the first thing is NGOs operate on trust. Do we trust our volunteers, our donors, our partners to do the right thing? That culture of trust can also become a vulnerability. At the same time, many NGOs operate with lean budgets. So with a lean budget, there's little to no money to invest in state-of-the-art security measures or controls or devices. Exactly. Yes. And then IT isn't always the top priority when it comes for an NGO. Like to form an IT team, it's not always like a top priority. And when you are deciding between like funding a security manager or hiring another field worker, of course, hiring another field worker will always take the day because we are always looking for more hands to help achieve our mission and vision over hiring a security manager, which is very expensive. Like I said, most NGOs run on a lean budget. And then the second thing is that think about what we hold, the beneficiary databases. So someone will be asking, what do you have with while stealing data? Because when a beneficiary reaches out to us, we keep their data, their sensitive data in beneficiary records, their locations. If it's an NGO that has to do with anything that has to do with health or sexual and productive health, we keep their health information, if it's an NGO that has to deal with abuse and all that, we keep their human rights evidence and all that. And these are pure gold for people. People literally sell other people's data to other companies to make money. Okay, and these are data we hold in our Google Drives, on our phones as volunteers and all that. And they are always valuable in the digital world, always. Exactly. And then the third thing will be that if your NGO works in a conflict zone, documents that one government finds, another mines weaponized. So if it's an NGO that handles high level documents or documents that contain high level information or sensitive government information, other nations might be interested in it, and they might employ or yeah, they might employ nation state attackers to attack such an NGO to retrieve the information they have so it can be weaponized against the nation in question. So as an NGO, the thing is you might be thinking we don't have millions, like the question I asked for, you might be thinking we don't have millions, we don't have all that. But we have data, and data is gold in our digital world. So like I said, irrespective of where your NGO stands, there's some form of data they collect on a daily basis that is always valuable to one person or the other, and they might engage in mischievous means just to get a hold of that data. And that's where NGOs become a target for data breach and data security incidents. Is that okay? So there are some examples. So all these things I'm saying do not happen in a vacuum. Okay, there are some examples of NGOs that were targeted, and it cost them a lot of money and a lot of resources and a lot of time to. Okay, so for the first one, we have the Amnesty International, which happened in 2015. It was a data breach. Is that okay? Um, Amnesty International, one of the world's largest human rights organizations, fell victim to a sophisticated cyber attack. So what really happened? So hackers believed to be a state-sponsored group, so it was alleged, targeted Amnesty's system, looking for documents related to their campaigns. The attackers used spear phishing emails. So that means they sent emails targeting specific people in the group within the organization. Is that okay? Into revealing credentials. And like I said, this so spear phishing is not just a random like spam email. Okay, it's such a way that it's targeted towards a particular person. It's okay. They don't. It's not like sent to like a group of people. No, the email is sent in such a way that or it's formulated in such a way that targeted towards a particular person, and it might contain certain information that you might think, oh, if I should see this and that, then it means it's for me, like this email is for me, and that is legit. It's okay, but most of the times it's not. It's okay. So it wasn't just a random spam; it was highly targeted to certain people, and they knew the names of the real Amnesty employees and referenced real ongoing campaigns. So, like I said, spear phishing, a lot of research goes into spear phishing. You need to know who you'll be sending the email to, be able to state certain personal details in the email so that they are tricked into believing that whoever is sending the email is legit when it's actually an attacker that is doing so. So what data was so was a data breach, but what data was exposed? So internal documents were exposed, campaigning strategy files were exposed, and also communications. While they didn't breach beneficiary data directly, they compromised the organization's ability to operate confidentially in sensitive regions. So imagine this NGO that has suffered a data breach and all. Any beneficiary that might want to partner with them that stores sensitive information um might might not really want to interact with them anymore because I mean they have this history of being breached, and no one wants their sensitive information or data out there. It's okay. So what if it's affected them? Okay, it's affected, like I said, it's affected their ability to operate confidentially in sensitive regions because any organization that held sensitive data wanted to collaborate with them on any other project in the future would um hinder a bit. It's okay, like they would hinder the whole process because they would fear that their sensitive information will be put out there, just like it happened in 2015. So the consequences was that so every data breach or every security incident has a consequence. Is that okay? It could be reputational, it could be financial, anything. But for this particular incident, Amnesty had to reset credentials across hundreds of staff globally. Imagine the resources and the time that was put into that. I'm sure they have hundreds of staff globally, and having to reset each and every person's credentials, having them to create new ones. I'm sure that was just a waste of time. Amnesty, they deployed publishing reports in certain regions for security reasons to let them know that this is what has happened and it could affect them negatively. And then field teams in dangerous countries had to go dark them temporarily while security was restored. So I'm sure they had people working undercover, and with a data breach, their information could have been exposed. And with that, they had to go into hiding to avoid being targets until security was restored, until they were sure that their safety was assured. And then the cost went beyond money, like I said, it went to mission impact and it went beyond money. I mean, time, resources, safety, volunteer safety or staff safety was also at risk. And so the lesson in that, okay, so we'll talk about the lessons later. But so let's go to the next attack. Was about World Vision. So World Vision had a supply chain attack. It was in 2018. So in 2018, World Vision, which operates in 100 plus countries, helping some of the world's poorest countries, experienced a different kind of breach. So what really happened? Okay, so the hackers didn't attack World Vision system directly. They didn't breach the system directly or went about looking for credentials to access their system. Instead, they compromised a third-party software vendor that they were using. So as now in our modern world right now, as an organization, you don't have everything you need to run your organization. So you need to source third-party vendors and all that, and their software is in order. So they compromised a third-party software vendor that the World Vision used. When World Vision updated that software, the malware came with it. So they thought they were updating their software to get the latest security patches, but not knowing there was a malware attached to the software update. And this is usually called a supply chain attack, where the attack comes in from another vendor or from a third party rather than directly to you. And it's a growing threat in our modern day now. But this is an example of an attack that happened in 2018 to an NGO. The attackers planted themselves inside World Vision's network for months without detection. So I'm sure they had a back door where they were monitoring the system, sniffing on data and information, intercepting whatever was going in and out of the system without being noticed. So personal information on millions of beneficiaries were exposed, like their names, ages, locations, health, and financial data. And personally, I wouldn't want to wake up one day and realize that my name, my age, my location, everything about my health and my financial data is out there. I'm not sure anyone would want that. Even if I don't have millions in my account, I still wouldn't want that financial data out there. So the organization also lost donor information and internal communication data. So the consequence was that World Vision had to notify affected individuals. They launched an investigation that cost millions. So like I said, it's always going to cost something, either your finances or your time or your safety or your resources. Is that okay? Beneficiaries in at-risk regions became nervous about sharing information with NGO workers because they thought by sharing it with them, it might end up exposed at the end of the day, and nobody wanted that. Trust, which had taken decades to build, took months to restore. So they also faced a 3.7 million ransomware payment, though they initially didn't disclose this to the public. So it cost them finances too because they were asked they paid a $3.7 million ransom, which is a lot. Even though it might be a well-established NGO, that's a lot of money to siphon out of an NGO when they have um beneficiaries to attend to. And then the third example, which is our last example, was the multiple smaller NGOs ransomware attacks that happened between 2022 and 2023. So an unpatched server let attackers encrypt all files. Okay. So this was a case of a ransomware where attackers encrypted smaller NGOs files and demanding money before they were given a key to decrypt the files. And this affected a lot of NGOs. This included environmental groups, health charities, refugee services, and all that. And like I said before, NGOs run on a lean budget. So if you have to like set money aside to pay ransomware, that will take a very bad toll on your finances. And I'm sure most NGOs could not have paid, and their files remained encrypted until they got, I'm sure, technical help from somewhere, which would also involve finances because whoever is coming in to help decrypt your files, you would have to compensate the person. Is that okay? So this was a real example that happened between the 2020 and 2020. Okay, so a mid-sized NGO supporting displaced communities was using outdated software on their file server. Attackers found a known vulnerability that had a patch available, but the NGO had not applied it yet. Is that okay? So they were using an outdated server. There was a software, there was an update for the server that had the security patch, but the NGO had not applied the security update yet. So they were still using the old file server that had a vulnerability that was identified by an attacker, and they capitalized on that. So they capitalized on that and got into their system and encrypted all their files. So they could not have done there was nothing to do because all their files were on lockdown, and they demanded money before they could send over the key to decrypt their files. Imagine working for this NGO. You go to work and there's nothing you can do because you can't access your machine. It keeps saying you should enter a key for your files to be decrypted. And for that key to be made available, your NGO has to pay some amount of money that you do not even have. Or even if you do have, it has been allocated to other resources and not just to be sent over to some group of attackers before a decryption key will be released. So yeah. So with all these examples, we can understand that as an NGO, it doesn't matter if we might be too small for an attack or uninteresting for an attack. As far as you're an NGO and we hold the data of beneficiaries, staff, donors, we are an attack or we are a target for a security breach. And it is our responsibility to ensure that we put in the right um, rules, the right controls, the right systems in place to protect ourselves, the people we work with, and the data we also work with. Because most of the time, these data that we have as an NGO are shared based on trust that we are going to keep their data well and safe. And it's up to us to ensure that we keep our end of the bargain by keeping their data safe. Is that okay? So what all three breaches have in common is that despite the different attack methods, the supply chain attack, the data breach, and using unpatched old file servers, the same patterns appear across every major NGO breach. Understanding this pattern is the first step to prevention. Is that okay? So the good news is that all three could have been reduced or let's say prevented with basic security hygiene, not by using some state-of-the-art tool or by having some fancy IT team in place. It could have been prevented by just basic security hygiene practices. Is that okay? Yeah, so so I'd like to talk about some of the mediums through which attackers can um get into our system. Is that okay? So we have social engineering. So social engineering works. You might think, oh, it can never happen to me. I'm smart, I'm wise, but you never know. When it comes to spear phishing, the email is not sent like as a general email. It's sent in such a way that it states certain data or information about you that you think, oh, just a trusted group of people know. But with dedicated research and enough time, attackers can find such information, put them in the email, send it to you, and you might think this is coming from someone you know or trust, and trick you into clicking on links or sharing credentials you are not supposed to share. Is that okay? And also, we also have delay detection. No one knew immediately. Okay, our attackers tend to operate undetected for weeks or months before because I mean attackers don't, unless it's a ransomware attack, they don't attack systems think hoping that they'll be detected right away. They would rather love to stay in the system, study it, intercept whatever is coming in and out of the system for as long as they can, because by that way they'll be able to gather more information or more data or exfiltrate more data or more information from the systems. Is that okay? And then one of the impacts was the cascading impact. Okay, so real programs were paused, made beneficiaries benefiting real good from real programs were paused because they could not have been carried on due to safety reasons, due to financial reasons as a result of the attack. Okay, and then trust was also lost because most NGOs rely on trust to share information, to share data. And once a breach happens, people tend to lose faith in or trust in that particular NGO or in sharing any sensitive information with that NGO. And then real missions were also delayed, just like real programs were paused for real beneficiaries. So you might be thinking, oh, why doesn't the NGO hire someone, I think even just one person to be in charge of the security? But I want us to understand that security is all about you. Okay, it's not about saying, oh, I'm not IT, this isn't my job. You might be right about the technical side, but attackers target people first. So you realize social engineering, one of the medium social engineering thrives is through phishing, where emails are sent to people with malicious links. And the emails are sent to people. They are not sent to systems. The email will launch in your inbox and you might click on a link you're not supposed to click. So security is something we all need to get involved in. We all need to do, or we all do. Okay. So NGOs are targeted, like I said. Why? Because we hold sensitive data with limited defenses or no defenses at all. We usually don't make security a priority. Is that okay? Not because we don't want to, but sometimes because of financial resources and some constraints. Okay, and then real breach do happen to NGOs. Okay, organizations bigger than ours have been hit. Attackers are patient but not unstoppable. It's okay. So whether big or small, as an NGO, whether big or small, once you hold data, once you collect data from people and all that, you become a target. Okay, and as a volunteer, as a staff, you have the power to ensure that the system breach or the security breach or the data breach does not happen. How? Whenever you receive a suspicious email or an email detailing um um things or stuff that just a secluded group of people should know, report it immediately. if it's coming from an external email, report it immediately. Even if it's coming from someone within the organization, but you know very well they're not supposed to have access to such information, yet they are talking about it, report it immediately because it could be that this person's email has been hacked and then the attacker is using that to reach out to you. Is that okay? And then we also have to make sure that softwares that we use, every update is installed. Please stop postponing your updates. Once you get an update notification that your software needs to be installed, whether on your Mac, iOS, whether on your Windows, whether on your phones, please install it immediately. It won't take you more than 5 minutes to do so. And for the updates that take you more than 5 minutes to do so, and you think they might interrupt with your work, you can schedule it to update overnight when you are asleep. It will also be updating in the background. Once you wake up, the updates will be done. Because usually, attackers are always on the lookout for organizations that are using outdated software so they can capitalize on the vulnerabilities that were found and then attack your system because you don't have the patch. You've not updated the software to have the security patch that addresses the vulnerability in question. Is that okay? So by doing all this, you're not only protecting yourself, but you're also protecting the beneficiaries and the mission and vision of the organization as a whole. Is that okay? So I'm Michael saying, please, whenever you let's be on the lookout, let's be vigilant. Is that okay? Let's be vigilant. When you get an email, when you get an email from an external, we all have a company email. So if you get an email from an external person that's not within um the same NGO domain, you're going to see it's external. And if it's not an email you're expecting or you're looking forward to, kindly report it. You can report it by forwarding it to the incident at microsin.initiative.org, which is the email that has been created to report any suspicious security activity. Or you can send it to your spam straight away. Is that okay? Also, we work from home, we use our devices to work. So it is up to us to ensure that we are doing the right thing. And one of the basic security hygiene is to ensure that every update is installed. So at least every 2 weeks, go onto your App Store or your Google Play Store, look at updates for apps, install them. If it's the phone's software, the iOS, I use Apple, so I know it's iOS. I don't know for Android, but I'm sure there's an update for that. An iOS update. Update it. It won't take you more than 5 minutes. It's up to us to ensure that we are doing our best in terms of security. We are practicing good security hygiene, not just for ourselves, like I said, but for the people we also serve, because we wouldn't want, it will not be a nice thing to wake up one day and realize that the people that we serve, their information is out there and their information can be used against them. That goes against our mission and vision as an NGO. So this video is to let you know that as an NGO, we are not too small to be attacked, or we are not interesting to be attacked. Once we have data sitting on our phones, on our drives, we are a target for an attacker, or we're a target for a security breach, because people might want to use this, might need this data and might want to get access to it using dubious means. That's where they tend to attack our system, send suspicious emails, hoping we will click on links that would take them into our systems and all that. Is that okay? So this brings us to the end of this um, topic. But before we break, here are 3 things I want you to take home. Is that okay? As a volunteer or as a staff of an NGO, NGOs are targeted specifically because we hold sensitive data. Is that okay? And have limited resources. They know that we have the data, but they know very well that we also have limited resources to protect them. And usually security is not really, data security is not really on top of our priorities, and they tend to capitalize on that. So this is it's not just a speculation, but it's actually something that is documented in hundreds of incidents. Is that okay? So that's why it's up to us as volunteers and as staff to practice basic security hygiene, because most incidents can be stopped with just basic security hygiene. We don't need a fancy security team or any fancy tools. Is that okay? And real security incidents happen to organizations that are bigger and better results than ours. So like I said, whether you are too, it doesn't matter if you are too small, even if it's just two, even if the NGO is made up of just two people, you're running as an NGO because there are certain information and certain data that you use daily and you can still be a target. Is that okay? And the third thing is that you have power here. Is that okay? Every password you protect, every suspicious email you report, every software update you install, you are protecting the mission and vision and the people that you are serving as an NGO. Is that okay? So report every suspicious email, make sure every update is done, make sure you are using the right password, format, 12 characters, special characters, and make sure with numbers, letters, upper cases and lower cases. Is that okay? Let us understand that as an NGO, we are working to serve other people, and whatever we do, one or the other, will affect these people that we hope to serve. Is that okay? So in our next session, we'll move from why to how. We'll talk about social engineering tactics so you can recognize them, and then we'll build practical skills. But for now, I want you to sit with something. Okay, so if you're watching this as a staff of an NGO or as a manager of an NGO, or if you're watching this as a member of the Microsoft initiative, I want you to remember that we are not a nonprofit that does security. It's okay. We are a mission-driven organization where security enables our work. Let me repeat that. We are not a non-profit that does security. We are a mission-driven organization where security enables our work. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this program for today. Like I said, in the next session, we'll move from why to how. Okay, and then these videos can be found on my channel under the playlist NGO security. Is that okay? Okay, so thank you all very much for your time. Do have a nice day.